Everyone gave up looking for the missing billionaire, only one single dad found her alive at dawn. The rescue teams had packed up. The helicopters had vanished from the sky. News channels declared there was almost no hope left. Deep inside a cold mountain cave, a billionaire woman lay injured, exhausted, and barely conscious, while the world had already accepted her fate. But just as the first rays of dawn touched the cliffs, one struggling single father made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, courage, and second chances can change lives, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Echoes of Kindness for more emotional stories that restore faith in humanity. Daniel Harper had never imagined his life would lead him into the mountains before sunrise. At 38, he was a single father raising his 9-year-old daughter, Lily, after losing his wife to illness years earlier. Every day was a battle. He worked construction during the week and took odd jobs on weekends just to keep food on the table. Bills piled higher every month, and despite working harder than anyone he knew, life never seemed to get easier. Still, he refused to let his daughter see his pain. Every morning he smiled for her, even when his own heart felt empty. The disappearance of billionaire entrepreneur Victoria Hayes had become the biggest news story in the country. She had gone hiking alone during a charity retreat when a violent storm struck the mountains. Hundreds of volunteers, rescue dogs, drones, and helicopters searched for 5 exhausting days. When landslides blocked major trails and temperatures continued falling, officials finally suspended the search, believing survival was almost impossible. Daniel had watched the heartbreaking news while eating dinner with Lily. Something about Victoria's story stayed with him. He couldn't explain why, but he kept thinking about someone lying alone somewhere, waiting for help that would never come. The next morning, before dawn, he left a note for Lily promising to return by evening and drove toward the mountains with only a backpack, flashlight, water bottles, and determination. Unlike professional rescuers, Daniel didn't follow complicated search maps. He trusted small details. Broken branches. Disturbed rocks. A torn piece of expensive fabric caught on a bush. His years working outdoors had taught him how nature left quiet clues if someone cared enough to notice them. Hours passed without success. His legs trembled from exhaustion. More than once he considered turning back. Then he noticed something unusual. Tiny footprints mixed with drag marks disappeared behind a cluster of rocks near an old cave hidden by fallen trees. His heartbeat quickened. Inside the dark shelter, he called out softly. At first there was only silence. Then he heard the faintest movement. His flashlight revealed a heartbreaking sight. Victoria Hayes sat against the cave wall, covered in dirt and bruises. Her ankle was badly injured, and dehydration had left her barely conscious. She looked toward the light with frightened, exhausted eyes, unable to believe another human being had actually found her. Daniel immediately gave her water in small careful sips, wrapped her in his spare jacket, and used his emergency radio to contact authorities from a nearby ridge where he finally caught a weak signal. Within an hour, helicopters filled the sky once again. The entire nation watched live as rescue crews carried Victoria safely from the mountain. Headlines called it a miracle. Reporters praised Daniel as a hero. But Daniel quietly returned home, believing he had simply done what any decent person should have done. A week later, an elegant black car stopped outside his small house. Victoria stepped out, still recovering but smiling warmly. She had spent days asking investigators about the man who refused any reward before disappearing back into ordinary life. As she entered Daniel's modest home, she noticed patched furniture, unpaid bills on the kitchen table, and Lily finishing homework beside an old lamp. She realized the man who had saved one of the richest women in the country could barely afford his own future. Victoria never forgot that moment. Instead of offering charity, she offered opportunity. She created a construction management company and asked Daniel to lead community rebuilding projects across struggling neighborhoods. She funded his professional training, guaranteed Lily's education through college, and launched a foundation supporting single parents who worked tirelessly but remained trapped by hardship. Months later, Daniel stood in front of hundreds of families receiving affordable homes built through the very company he now managed. Every brick represented hope. Every smiling child reminded him that one act of compassion could echo through thousands of lives. Victoria often said that wealth had surrounded her for years, but true humanity had found her inside a forgotten cave when everyone else had stopped believing. Daniel never called himself a hero. He simply believed that no life should be abandoned while hope still existed. Before the ending, tell us in the comments, if you had been in Daniel's place, would you have continued searching after everyone else had given up? We'd truly love to read your answer. Years later, Lily graduated from university and proudly hugged the father who had taught her that kindness is stronger than money, courage is louder than fear, and ordinary people often create the greatest miracles. Daniel's decision that lonely morning didn't just save one billionaire, it restored hope to countless families who would never even know his name. Sometimes the greatest treasures aren't found in bank accounts or boardrooms. They're found in hearts that refuse to walk away when someone else needs them most. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Echoes of Kindness. Your support helps us continue sharing inspiring stories that remind the world compassion still exists, and your engagement may help this message of hope reach someone who desperately needs it.